Welcome everyone. I'm doing a video edition of your tarot and Astro forecast for the week. Excuse any flubs in my speech because I'm probably not going to edit this. So we're just going to plow through and get you your information for the week ahead. So first of all, if you're new here, or if you're finding this video on YouTube where I plan to also upload it, know that this is an offering that I have weekly on my Substack over at michellesheawalker.substack.com. It's a newsletter and also a blog. So if you would like to have more offerings with tarot and astrology delivered directly to your inbox, feel free to go subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, thank you for being here. And if you are a paid subscriber, bonus thank you for being here. Extra appreciation your way. And know that this first video of the month, this first reading of the month, they happen weekly, is available for everyone. So that's why this is being broadcast everywhere. And then there are also weekly ones that happen after this throughout the month that will now be for the paid subscriber tier. So if you're interested in that, it's only $5 a month. Like, you probably pay more than that for most of the horoscopes that you try to get. So just allow yourself to feel into it. If it feels like the right time, pull the trigger and you'll be supporting a female-owned business as well. So welcome to, I think it's Women's History Month too. So all the more reason to feel like you want to support women in your life. We are going to be diving into cards. So cards and astrology for every day of the week. And then we also end with a little pull from the Total Betty Goddess deck, the 90s themed goddess deck that I created that will be for the elements. So earth, air, fire, water. You can use this for your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, basically anywhere in your chart that resonates. I actually recommend that you listen to all of the earth, air, fire, water, figure out which one sounds like your situation, and then check your chart to see where you have those elements, because those areas might be a little more intensified during the week ahead. So without further ado, let me dive in. By the way, hi, I'm Michelle Shea Walker. I'm an astrologer and energy reader, and I like to use astrology and tarot not as a predictor for the future, but as a method of coaching to help you have your highest potential in the energy forecast that lies ahead. So this is not so much about predicting the future, it's more about giving you a weather update for the energy of the stars and the energy of the collective at large. So the cards are giving me a little bit more of an earthly view, and then the astrology is giving me the celestial view. And I'm using those two things to just tell you what to expect, and then you can plan accordingly because you always have free will and you can orchestrate your life the way that you want. If you ever want more personalized advice, I do offer one-on-one readings, and your first session in any of the categories that I offer, mind, body, and soul, which is tarot, Reiki, and past lives, you can get half off your first reading in any of those categories using the coupon code FIRSTTIME, 1 STTIME. So now that we've got all those announcements out of the way, we are going to dive into our cards. So Mercury went retrograde this weekend. So if you were around for last week's reading, we covered that was going to be something that was going to be happening, and it's still here. And honestly, I get the feeling from the energy read that we're going to have a little bit of a slower build here. I think we're really going to hit Venus retrograde. Oh, did I say Mercury retrograde? Venus went retrograde. Excuse me. Mercury will be going retrograde later, but Venus went retrograde. So I think we're really going to hit the intense Venus retrograde energy about week 2 or 3, because it's there for about 6 weeks. And then once that happens, we also have a ton of other astrology that's happening. This week's kind of our little intro week. So it's a great week to join that paid tier so that you get the information about what's happening. We have eclipses. We have multiple retrogrades. We have multiple kazimis where the sun is lining up with a point or planet and just intensifying the energy that's happening there. So it's gonna be a month that you may want a little extra advice for this weather energy forecast. So just putting that out there. If you decide to join, you're welcome to be here. If not, I'm so happy that you're here for this reading. And we are going to dive into Monday, which is the day that I'm actually recording this. So these get released a little bit later in the day. And early in the wee morning hours, Central Time in the United States, we had Mercury move into Aries on Monday. So Mercury into Aries traditionally it's planet of communication in Aries, which is kind of a sign it's a fire sign. It's known for being a little more combustible, a little more impulsive, maybe a little more quicker to speak. So the tongue might be running away from you. I do get a feeling here that, again, it feels like a little bit of a slow start. I don't really feel like we're going to burst into Mercury and Aries and like immediately be getting into, well, actually, I take that back. I think our interpersonal relationships are not going to burst into this energy. We might see it more on like the global stage or like online interactions, because there can be a tendency to get into more fights and to have a quicker temper, a quicker impulse to say things that maybe you wouldn't really like that you said later. So just be mindful of that. Especially, I'm getting the hit for online interactions. Like, give yourself a beat before you respond, before you start an argument or engage in an argument that someone else is trying to start. This is also coming into play with our card. So our cards for this week are from the Lioness Oracle deck. I was wearing roses. They have roses on the backs of the cards. It felt appropriate. So our card for Monday is the Ten of Swords. So this is an energy of being absolutely done with something. So again, I want you to be really careful with what you say when feeling triggered by your interpersonal relationships, as Mercury is in Aries. So today is really about recognizing what you're done with and maybe waiting to tell the people, situations, places that you want to peace out. It may not be the best day to have those exit conversations, exit interviews, or whatever that you might be calling them. Just because you might end up saying something, or they might end up saying something that you regret down the line. It's something that was said in the heat of the moment, and it's not going to feel that great in retrospect. So keep that in mind. I want you to listen to the impulses that are telling you that you're done with certain situations. Do not ignore those, because that is definitely a big theme for March, is making sure that you are following your higher self's guidance and the path that you're meant to be on. If you are not following your guidance and you're not listening to those little impulses that you're done with certain situations or that you want to move forward in a certain way, the universe is going to do those things for you this month. That is what the astrology of March is about. It's kind of a tower card moment in March where we are being pushed into the things that we maybe have been avoiding if we don't take the actions ourselves. So that's the message. Again, we don't have a tower card here in the spread, but again, the energy of March feels like the tower card. And so the tower card message is that you've built your building on a flawed foundation. Your tower has grown really tall, but there were cracks in the foundation that you didn't fix at the beginning of things. And you've learned lessons, you know how to do things better now, but you kind of have to tear the building down and rebuild it so that you make sure that it's stronger and that it has staying power. And when the tower card comes up in a reading or in an energy in this case, it's a reminder that you have free will. In this circumstance, you can choose to ignore the cracks in the foundation and keep building, but eventually the universe is going to take care of that for you and tear the building down. So it's kind of like that the whole thing, like, I can do it for, it's going to hurt worse if you let someone else do it for you type thing. I'm getting the image of like a band-aid being like ripped off by someone else. And so you want to really take control here and recognize where it is that something's not working out in your life. It could be something external, a situation you find yourself in that you need to exit from. It could be a relationship that you need to either have a conversation or exit from. Venus is retrograde. It's a great time for breakups. I highly recommend it if you didn't see that on my Instagram stories. And then it also could be something within you that's not working, like a habit, an addiction that you need to kind of get rid of. And you basically have the month of March to start clearing that out, or the universe is going to do it for you, and it's going to be a little more uncomfortable if you let the universe do it for you. So you might as well take initiative and use your free will to make the choice that's in the most alignment with who you are and who you really want to be. That was a long Monday read, but we're also talking about March as a whole. So basically, the sum up: Monday, Ten of Swords. You are gonna feel like you're done with something, but because Mercury just went into Aries and it's a little combustible, it may not be the best day to have a conversation with someone else about it. So take note, make your exit strategy in your head, and then plan the conversation for a time that we are more stabilized. Mercury could still be in Aries when you have this conversation, but we just want to make sure that we've kind of got the gist of the vibe of that so that we're not letting that impulse take us over. Tuesday, quieter on the astrology. So the card that we have for Tuesday is the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands is a choice. But it's a really beautiful choice because it's a choice between things that you feel really passionate about. It could be passionate in a creative way. It could be passionate in a sensual way. So for some of you, I'm getting there might be almost like a love triangle going on and you're choosing between two individuals that you feel passionate about. For a lot of us, it's a creative, expressive thing where you have two paths that you feel passionate about and you're choosing the one that works best for you. So again, this comes along with that tower type theme of March of that this is the direction you want to head, but maybe you're avoiding it. Maybe you're still trying to build the building that you started that's not actually working for you. So the Two of Wands is a choice that's being presented to you. And I love it because it's not like the Two of Swords where it feels like a really rough choice where there's a lose-lose situation. The Two of Wands is kind of a win-win situation, but you do need to make the evaluation of which one of these choices is authentically calling out to your soul. You really want to follow the thing that feels like it's got the strongest legs, that it's got the most pull to it. Think of it as you're going to start. Even if you don't consider yourself creative, let's use a creative project as an endeavor. Let's say you want to write a book and you have two great ideas for a book, but one of them feels like it's going to need a lot of research and you're not so sure about what direction you want to take it. And it'd still be a really good idea for a book. It probably would sell really well. And then the other one is just naturally something that you're drawn towards. You already know a lot about it, or you really love researching it already, and you do that in your spare time anyway. So you might as well put it all in a book. We're basically choosing between two things like this, two passions like this, where it's they're both good. It's not that there's a bad and a good. It's that one of them is more ready for you and you're more ready for it. And so this is an indicator of really listening to the pull of your passions and the things that really are exciting your soul, and let yourself go that direction. I can feel some of us pulling that direction already. So hopefully that resonates for you. Hopefully you decide to make that choice, because again, if you don't make the choice, the universe will make it for you and it'll be less comfortable. As we move into Wednesday, the astrology is that Mercury is sextile Pluto. This is just kind of a soft little sprinkle on the day. It's not going to be a real intense energy like when Mercury changes signs. So Mercury sextile Pluto is an indicator that our communication and our sort of transformational inner self are coming together. So I would venture to guess, if you didn't have a conversation on Monday that you feel like needs to happen this week, that Wednesday could potentially be a good day to have that conversation, because it's basically saying that the planet of communication, Mercury, and the planet of change and transformation and rebirth are kind of having a little having a cup of tea in the sky. They're having a good time together. Again, it's a very soft, gentle good time. But it could support a conversation about change and transformation in your life. And then we also have the Knight of Cups as our card. And the Knight of Cups, for those that are having a conversation in regards to following your passion, following your creativity, is a really supportive card, because the Knight is a messenger. He brings in a message in regards to Cups things, which are emotions, creativity, intuition. If the creative conversation or a work-based conversation isn't resonating for you, it could be a romantic message that's coming in, a little offer of love that's presented either by you to someone else or to you from someone else. So stay on the lookout for that. Stay open. I do get a small hit for someone listening that the offer of love might be coming as a surprise. Like it might be coming from someone that you didn't expect, you didn't realize was interested in you. Maybe it's like a friend from way back. But to stay open. There's a feeling that like something you hadn't considered might actually being better than you could have imagined. Sip my tea at that. Okay, so moving from Wednesday into Thursday. Again, the astrology gets a little quieter on Thursday, so we're going to go off of our card. And our card is the Three of Cups in the reversed position. So I read reverse cards a little differently than some readers. I do it very intuitively. Sometimes reverse cards can mean sort of like a shadow or negative aspect of a card, and sometimes I like to read it most often as an inwardly reflective energy. So it's not so much a good or bad, because there are plenty of other cards that could give me a more shadowy interpretation of this energy. So when it's flipped upside down, most of the time I feel called to read it as this is you turning this energy inward. So what does that mean? The Three of Cups is about finding a sense of community. And like not just any community, but like your coven, like your fellow magic makers, the souls that really resonate with you, that are going to be helping you create manifestations and magic in the world. When it's flipped upside down and I feel called to turn it inward, this comes across as more of like a spiritual community. So if you're not into that, maybe it is that you are encountering, like old friends or people that you've already integrated into your soul family that you're reconnecting to. But for a lot of us, and if it's even something that kind of calls to you, I think it's more like ancestors, guides, angels, deities, like whatever it is that you work with on a spiritual basis. Those individuals are there for you, and they're showing up for you as a part of your community. So don't neglect those connections. And especially I'm getting a big pull towards ancestors. So I don't do hardcore ritual work around any of these things. I just consider these energies as like a supportive community that's around me that I can have a conversation with whenever I want. So it doesn't have to be super elaborate. It can be as simple as putting a picture or two of your, grandparents or great grandparents or someone from your ancestral line up. It could be as simple as if you come from a culture that has specific, archetypes or imagery or talismans, putting those around your space and using them as like a touchstone throughout your day. So especially on Thursday, I want you to really interact with those energies a little bit more. And it could be as simple as like having a charm be connecting you to your ancestors and you wear that charm that day, or like doing a little meditation on a photo of an ancestor, or doing a little free writing and just saying in your free writing, like, what do my ancestors have to tell me, and see what comes forward with that. But there is a sense of there's a non-physical, internally connected community that's available to you on Thursday that probably has some really magical wisdom for you. So again, if that doesn't resonate, you might be connecting to old friends or old family members that are like just deeply ingrained in you. And so it feels like an internal connection. Moving into Friday. So Friday, the astrology, in the late hours, Central Time, America, we have the sun trine Mars. My hours aren't good enough. I had to look. The sun trine Mars is happening that day. And the trine is always lucky. It's a lucky partnership. And the sun is always going to intensify or shine a light on a certain energy. And Mars is when we get our passion, and in both good and bad. So passion as in sensuality or a creative drive, and also passion as in like passionate arguments. So again, we have to be mindful that Mercury is in Aries, and communications can have more of a tendency to turn towards fights. But with it being a trine, I think that's usually going to be a more, again, lucky energy. So it's not so much like what to watch out for, it's how to utilize this energy to your advantage. So with the sun trine Mars, I would say that this is a really good day to get to work on your creative projects, especially if that Two of Wands was an energy that you picked a creative project that felt like it had the most pull to it. And It's later in the evening hours on Friday, so it may bleed more into Saturday as well. But use Friday as like an open space for inspiration. And then the card for Friday that we have is Justice. And I love this Justice card. So, Justice, it's about balance, but it's also about karma. And anytime a card of karma comes up, I like to remind you that you're really not in charge of anyone else's karma or what their just desserts are. You're in charge with keeping your side of the street clean so that karma can reward you. And then everything else is not your business. And I know that's really, like, especially with a card like this, it looks like a very social justice active card. And that's not saying, like, don't pursue your social justice causes, like, keep calling your representatives, keep, doing the things, but don't get so caught up in your head about, like, who's going to get what in regards to, like, who deserves what kind of punishment or reward. Like, that's not any of your business. So keep your side of the street clean so that you do get rewarded from karma, but don't try to play karma for everyone else in the world, because honestly, I always say the universe is a better screenwriter than any of us could ever be. Or as Taylor Swift says, trash takes itself out every single time. So don't waste your energy. That's really the perspective I want to come from. Don't waste your valuable, magical energy on trying to wish ill on other people, even if they deserve all the ill in the world. Do not waste your energy. It's so much more precious and magical for you to channel that energy into creative good and supporting the good in the world rather than trying to punish the bad. That's always, always, always going to be my philosophy. We are always, like, you're going to have a more peaceful and aligned with your higher self existence if you're supporting the good rather than trying to fight against or punish the bad. And there's always another side of the coin. So think of what you're thinking. Think of the people that you think need to be punished and be like, okay, what's the opposite of that? And how can I go full force supporting that with money, volunteer work, whatever? Maybe it's an idea, maybe it's a concept, maybe it's something that's coming forward in that creative project that you're moving into. But find the energy that you want to support and just let go of the energy that you don't think is doing right. Because if we all channel our efforts towards what needs to be supported, what the good in the world is, it's gonna eventually triumph over the bad because there's so much energy behind it. So don't worry about the other side of the coin. Like, that's not your business. Don't pollute your energy with that. Okay, that was a little bit of a tangent, but that's what's coming through for Friday. So again, might be a little bit of an energy towards channeling your passion project stuff, but also definitely always channel your energy towards the things you want to support in the world. And don't waste your energy trying to figure out how to get someone else their just desserts. Okay. From Friday, we move into Saturday. Saturday, again, March 8th, has a little quieter astrology. It is the card of the Three of Swords. So there is a bit of a heartbreak that could be happening on Saturday. However, I like this Three of Swords because it does have more gentle imagery than a lot of the decks. So I think it's fitting, it's fated that I felt called to this deck. Three of Swords can mean sort of heartbreak, betrayal. Maybe there's a third party situation. Maybe there's cheating. Maybe there's a breakup. Again, we are in Venus retrograde. It's not unheard of to have a breakup during this time. If you didn't watch my Instagram stories, I can tell you that all of my personal breakups have happened or either before, after, or right during, like right around Venus retrograde. Anytime I've had a life-changing breakup, it's been in tandem with the Venus retrograde. And while some people will tell you to not make impulsive decisions around your romantic life or your aesthetic during Venus retrograde, I find in my experience that if the impulse to break up comes about during a Venus retrograde, it's more of a push that you needed than it is a decision that you shouldn't follow through on. I mean, if you want, you can stew with the energy until right after Venus retrograde and then decide to pull that trigger. But this could indicate that some of us are going through a breakup. And even if you are the one that pulls the trigger, there's still heartbreak, there's still loss, there's still mourning of what you thought that relationship was going to be. So I want you to take Saturday to just be really gentle with yourself, and to honestly nurture what feels. Take the things that you feel like you're losing from a certain situation. That's the universe chiming in. And decide to manifest that in a even more aligned and healthy way in your next situation. Or quite frankly, don't forget about the next situation. Manifest it right now in your life. For the single people out there or the people that are about to go through a breakup, do not waste all your time waiting for a manifestation of love and support and partnership to happen. Take it into your life now. Look at whatever you miss from your past relationship from that person and ask, how can I embody that more in my life? Because ultimately, that's what we're attracted to in someone else. We're attracted to something in them that we feel like we're lacking or missing or not allowed to become. And if we allow ourselves to become those things, then we can come into partnerships without relying on someone else to be sort of our other pillar. And we're just two whole individuals coming together and having fun. And doesn't that sound beautiful? Okay, from Saturday into Sunday, I feel like this is a really long reading, probably. All right, Sunday we have the Knight of Swords, also quieter astrology, but we do have daylight savings time beginning in the States, which we need to get rid of. But Knight of Swords reversed. So the Knight of Swords is normally a message of truth. And sometimes it's kind of uncomfortable truth. And because it's turned inward, this is your own truth that you're being confronted with on Sunday. This is quite an arc here for someone. I'm getting a pull of a storyline for someone watching this that could involve like a hard discussion of needing to exit a relationship and then finding the spiritual support from your ancestors and then letting go and forgiving people for their own karma and healing your heart, and then having a message of internal truth come through, having some sort of realization come through from this transformation arc that you've gone through this week. And again, this is just the beginning of an intense March transformation energy. So if this is you, if your arc this week is just really intense, buckle up. But I'm so excited for what the end of March is going to be like for you, because if you're already starting with big transformational shifts during this first full week of the month, it's only going to get even crazier and more momentum in a good way, because hopefully you're making these changes because you are following your highest path and your highest inspiration, and the doors are going to burst wide open if you're doing that. So if you start doing that this week, you're going to be fully blessed as the energy gets more intense during eclipse season and all of that in the rest of March. But listen for that message of truth. I feel like it's going to come through quiet. There's a little whisper. So Sunday's a good day to like sit in meditation, do some journaling, check in with yourself. There's sort of an energy of thinking we know how we feel about a situation, but not actually doing the work to check in and kind of scan the body and scan the emotional system and ask ourselves, how am I actually feeling? Not how do I think I should feel or how am I projecting my feelings to the world? How do I actually feel? And what's the truth behind that? Because that truth has some transformational energy to it that's going to get you to the next level. Sending you love, energy, flowing some Reiki your way, because this does feel like it needs a little bit of a smoothing over this week. So take a deep breath and let it go. Okay, that is our week. If you're still here, we're going to move it into our earth, air, fire, water readings. And I always go in that order just because it's easier for me to keep track. So earth signs, which are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Your total bitty goddess is Ishtar, played by Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. You're a hooker with a heart of gold, and you are basically a badass. Like, honestly, Ishtar is kind of like an earlier incarnation of like Venus or Aphrodite, and she kind of has like a more well-rounded energy to her, and that she's the goddess of love and sex and sensuality, but so she's also the goddess of battle and war. So a kind of interesting energy to bring with you into Mercury and Aries. You may be having a few more fights with Mercury and Aries because you are ready to go into battle, but also because she is the goddess of pleasure and sensuality and love and creativity, she also could be about like a really passionate drive towards your creative projects. So you have a really great goddess in your corner for the energy that's playing out during this week. And I want you to kind of meditate on the sensation or the feeling or the concept of being able to embody two things at once, of being able to be a goddess of love and a goddess of war in the same breath. Because I think one of our biggest tasks as a society these days is to learn to live in the gray and to recognize that nothing is all good or all bad. There's a time and a place for every aspect of ourselves, every aspect of the world. And if you think one of these two things is lesser than the other, like if you think love is weak, or if you think that battle is evil, like too much, you need both of these things. And honestly, you need both of these things at the same time to be better at each. Like you need to know how to go into battle for yourself and love so that you don't lose yourself and that you're still like having that pushback on anything that's trying to take over like a codependent pattern or anything like that. And then you also need to bring an element of love into battle. I want to elaborate on that, but I feel like I'm not supposed to. I feel like I'm supposed to let that statement sit. Like, what does it feel like to bring an element of love into battle with you? All right, so earth signs into air signs. So we have Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Your card is Queen Marimba, played by Whitney Houston and the Bodyguard. And I get the feeling this card might have come up for air signs recently in the past couple weeks. I could be wrong, but this is a beautiful card for creativity because it is about song, like vocalizing truth, song specifically because she is a goddess of song, but also of like hitting a true note is kind of the metaphor that I like to think of for this goddess. So what is your true note? Like what note, physically, like metaphorically or literally, feels like it just rings true in your soul? I think this kind of comes back to our Two of Wands choice of like there's two passions and you're trying to figure out which one you're going to go for. Like what does truth and passion and draw and that momentum forward towards something feel like to you? In the same way that when you hear Whitney Houston hit that high C above middle something. I don't know music terms, but I've heard that the C note that she hits in I Will Always Love You is supposedly a very difficult note to hit. And when she hits it and it's true and it rings out and it's perfect, what does that feel like in your soul? And what is the equivalent to that in your life? She's here to help. Okay, so I actually see for some of you getting in like a bathroom or an echoey room and actually singing I Will Always Love You, even if you're an awful singer, could be a good exercise for this week. So earth, air, fire is next. So fire signs, we have Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Your card is Bridget, played by Julia Stiles in 10 Things I Hate About You. So she is also a very creative card, but whereas we have a creative card that's more like musically inclined, she's more words and poetry and expression through more the spoken word. So this is, if you are poetic, if you do write poetry or if you write period, I think this is an indicator to anything that you feel like you want to have a fight or discussion about with Mercury and Aries. It'll help to channel it through your creative writing first. And I'm actually getting the feeling, I'm getting a message for someone that like you'll write a poem or lyrics or a short story about the situation to get sort of your energy out of you in regards to something that maybe you're pissed off about or whatever. And that will actually be the end of that energy for you. You like won't have to have a conversation with someone. So this could be like maybe you are going through a breakup and an ex is pissing you off, or like you just want to cleanse a catharsis of something from that relationship. And this is kind of a feeling of like once you get the story out, it's kind of no longer eating away at you. And you may not have to have a conversation with another person. You can kind of resolve it through your creative expression. So from fire signs into water signs, we have Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Your goddess is Oshun. Oshun. There's all kinds of different ways to say this, but I'm going to choose Oshun. And Oshun is played by Lauryn Hill, 90s Lauryn Hill, Miss Education of Lauryn Hill. So it's kind of fitting. I'm actually realizing as I'm wrapping these up that they're all very creative inclined goddesses. Like they all have something to do with creativity. So Oshun is kind of also a cousin of Venus. Again, these are all in different spaces and cultures, and so they're not actually related. Like they don't connect in their own mythology, but I always kind of see the patterns in them and see how one relates to the other, and how like all religion and all of our spiritual beliefs are just one big game of telephone that's been happening for centuries. And sometimes it's not even a telephone that actually happened through communication. It was just through the energy. Everybody kind of caught on to the same concept and it caught fire. So the point being is like this is a very like goddess of love, goddess creativity. There's also a really sensual element with Oshun, and also a really good abundance element. She's the river goddess, so think of like things flowing to you like a river. So whether you're struggling to create something or you're struggling to maybe call in some more abundance in your life, visualizing a river and letting this goddess's energy kind of bring things to you is a really beautiful way to embody that divine feminine. P.S. We all have divine feminine and divine masculine within us. Doesn't matter what gender identity you have. We're all a spectrum, and we all need to go back and forth on that spectrum. So this is about embodying more of the feminine receptive energy as opposed to trying to force your creativity to happen or to force whatever, your abundance, your love life, whatever it is. Like you don't want to like drive forward towards it in this energy. You want to like sit back and like receive and become a magnet for the things that are meant to be yours and that are most aligned with who you are. So the best advice that I have for this magnetic energy is to make sure you're embodying your most authentic energy, even in like stillness around your home. Like how can you just relish in your day-to-day life so that you feel so drenched in your own deliciousness that similar energy can't help but find you. And it could be abundance opportunities, it could be creative inspiration, it could be opportunities to share that creativity. But Oshun is definitely flowing something towards you this week. And it's also appropriate that it's for our water signs who are water element. So this should be a very easy energy to kind of seep into. Okay, so with all of that, I think I want to end not with a full meditation, but just take a moment here to recognize that because March is going to be turning up a bunch of stuff, that like if we imagine sort of those river waters turning up the energy from the bottom and like washing away anything that we don't need, or I'm even getting an image of like stones tumbling and all the hard edges being like worn away so that they're nice and smooth. I want you to kind of picture that one of those two in your belly. So they're turning over soil from the bottom that needs to be washed away, or tumbling stones that are going to now become these precious, polished, beautiful things. And just kind of let the energy flow in with your inhale. Imagine it polishing off some rough edges, and let something you don't need flow out on your exhale. Okay. Happy start of March. I'm here for you. Thank you for joining me for this free first week preview. And if you decide to stick around, I look forward to seeing you in the coming weeks.